One more week without Jeff Rickard. It will be the trio you heard last week here all week long, although different locations for that. Good Monday morning to you. Thank you for spending and starting your week with us. I am Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton alongside. And as I made the drive downtown this morning, I did think to myself, if I have this correctly, this will be the only in-studio show, I should say, for the next 7 days. Is that right? The rest of this week we're in Westfield, and James, Monday, Tuesday of next week, right? Our morning practices as well?
Yes. So we will be on the road a little bit.
So Mark Dykton solo dolo in studio.
Wear pants, please.
I don't know. I've already brought the hangers. The pants are going off.
Man.
I'm ready to kick up my feet and just have private time.
Pray for Eddie Garrison sitting in that chair following you here over the next week and a half. Colts training camp is here. Report day tomorrow. We'll be up there at Grand Park. And again, morning practices Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I believe it's late afternoon Saturday. Sunday will be an off day. And we'll be out there next Monday and Tuesday as well. So if you are heading up to Grand Park, come over and say hi to us. We'll be busy. I think a couple players are scheduled to join us tomorrow for report day. Typically, Chris Ballard does his... I would say what, James? Probably the final time we hear from Ballard really all year. He'll speak around, it sounds like lunchtime coming up tomorrow. And then, this is typical around the NFL. The voices shift from the GM carrying the mic throughout really much of the offseason to the head coach. And so Shane Steichen will be kind of the main voice of the organization after that. But summer vacation, sir, is over.
Yes, it is over. But we had a crazy summer break, I would say, between the NBA Finals, going to Game 7 with the Pacers, and just now coming off of WNBA All-Star weekend here in Indianapolis. So it was a little more jam-packed than normal, but yes, now it is back to the gridiron.
It's always like the first day of school, they say, what did you do on your summer vacation? This year, you're going to be like, oh, well, the Pacers went to the finals.
Yeah, this year I'm flexing.
The WNBA All-Star game came to town. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, this year I'm flexing because usually every summer my friends would go somewhere very expensive, and they'd be like, what'd you do this summer? And I'm like, I went to my grandma's house and played basketball with my cousins, and, I might have taken a trip to some amusement park that was, subsidized by somebody else. But other than that, it was a crazy summer, and I was glad to be a part of it. And honestly, the city, I feel like, had a short summer as well, because if you were into sports, I mean, what didn't you do or enjoy? Even yesterday, I'm like, wow, there's, TBT games and things going on as well.
Yeah, it's obviously been really a year unlike any other, frankly, for our city from a sports standpoint. So we'll hit on that at various points today. Joel A. Erickson from the Star. Always enjoy our chats with Joel. He will come on air at 8 o'clock. Ben Pickman from the WNBA, or covers the WNBA, I should say. Probably one of the lead national voices, I would say it's fair to say. He joins us coming up 9 o'clock hour. Unlikely Caitlin Clark will play tomorrow night. No real surprise with that. All-Star weekend has come and gone. A couple things that stood out to me. One, great to run into Mark Dykton and his beautiful family Saturday down there at WNBA Live. The girls look like they were having a blast, Mark.
Yeah, they're having a good time and stuff. I'm like, is that your friend Kevin? I'm like, yeah, that's him. And I was like, be good. Don't embarrass me in front of him.
It's like running into your friends right before school starts. Like, we were at, the ice cream shop. Like, we got to go to Dairy Queen right before school starts.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
And then I saw you there, and
yeah, you're like, great. What's going on here? I'm like, I think we're in line for Panini cards or something like that.
Your girls had their hands full. So, literally with, a lot of, giveaways down there at WNBA Live. James, you were right. WNBA Live probably a little bit more on the older side of a kid. I would say there were enough freebies to go around that Rosie still had a good time. Went with one of my buddies and his two daughters. So we still had a good time down there. And honestly, I thought one of the cooler things was on the circle. Mark, I know you guys did the WNBA bounce or dribble.
Dribble bounce, I think is what it was called. Whatever it was, but it was, they started
at the library?
They, basically started at the library, and they bounced the ball on, the streets were all blocked off, and they bounced the ball all the way to Monument Circle. That was actually pretty awesome. That was insane to see how many kids were out there with all the WNBA balls that they got to keep and everything like that. And then obviously there was all that craziness on the circle where you could do all kinds of stuff with sponsors and shooting hoops and everything like that. That was more kid-friendly and everything like that. But they had a great time there. Early morning, but great time.
I will say, I'm not going to lie, every time that I walk past, because I parked down here during All-Star weekend pretty much a couple times a day. And every time I walked past the circle and there was a hoop available, I had to get some shots up. So I was probably delayed by about 10 to 15 minutes of each place I was supposed to be at because I'm like, how could you not shoot, at least do something? It's not going to be here forever.
James is ripping the ball out of little girl's hands to get a jumper up.
Blocking shots.
Look, man,
Get that junk out of
when
here.
you're on the court, you're food out there. But no, I enjoyed myself. It was a good time. And honestly, what always surprises me is how quickly those things get taken down. I mean, by tomorrow night, last night, it was, pretty empty when it came to just the festivities. But I enjoyed myself. I feel like I saw a bunch of friends that I hadn't seen in a while. And it really was cool to see kids of all ages, even, boys and girls going crazy over WNBA basketball, the different celebrities, and just seeing random WNBA figures, players, coaches walking around. Like I was walking in the circle one time, and Cheryl Reeve was in there, and Georgia Amore, former Kentucky and Virginia Tech star for the Washington Mystics now was, walking around. So I enjoyed myself. And I think the Fever did a very good job of hosting everything. And I'll conclude with the fact that I went to Sydney Colson's comedy stand-up.
How was that?
It was good. It was good. She's legitimately
that was over at
funny.
White River, correct?
Yes, over at White River. And she was legitimately funny. So I'll give her credit for that. And you could tell she was a bit nervous to start, but I thought as it went on, she was very good. And, when she said she wants to be a full-time comedian after her career is over with basketball, I am not inclined to think she can't do it. Like, she was legitimately funny.
Yeah, and I was glad, honestly, weather cooperated over there because it looked a little dicey there Saturday afternoon, but was able to cooperate. We'll see if Visit Indy reaches out to Angel Reese for a testimonial. Sounded like Angel Reese had a great time here.
Indiami, as she called it.
In the city of, Indiami. Very well said right there. And I guess we all should probably just come to the realization that All-Star games are not great entertainment.
No.
I mean, that was a horrific performance Saturday night on the floor, just like the NBA All-Star game was horrific 2 years ago. I had a little optimism for the WNBA because, and I probably was not using context very well. Last year, we saw a great game. Now, that was Team USA versus, I guess you would call a lot of those women All-Star snub or USA snubs.
Pretty much, yeah.
On the WNBA All-Star team. And that was a great game, and the WNBA All-Star team beat Team USA.
Yeah.
So, and even in prior years when it hasn't been that format, because that format is super unique. When it hasn't been that format, James, I do think the WNBA, they have had a more competitive game. Saturday night, I watched it because I felt like I had to watch it. I mean, it's just how many people can pull up from the 4-point play. Like, I told you when Ryan Rucco was on with us Friday, he was like, I hope people don't start chucking. And I'm like, brother. He warned us. He did warn us.
This is like telling a kid not to take the candy out of the store. No, we're definitely going to shoot these 4-pointers.
I mean, honestly, the closest thing, and I say that in quotes, the closest thing you get to a somewhat real all-star game across all professional sports is probably the MLB.
Yeah.
The fact that you at least get the pitchers throwing a bullpen session for an inning, and these hitters are not up there just to, not hit.
Right.
They're going to at least give an effort to it. But the NBA All-Star game, I mean, that was awful 2 years ago, and I thought Saturday night was a joke.
Yeah. In my opinion, you know what's crazy, Kevin? Reading the comments, I should honestly stop doing this, but at this point in my career, I'm not going to change too much. But
You like to choose violence?
Yeah, but the comments on my post-game story, because I had the James write the quick story off of the game, which I did, and I included a couple funny moments, but you would think that I had to write about, Game 6 here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse between the Pacers and OKC with the comments I was getting. Why wasn't this a longer story? Why wasn't this shorter? And people just, being mad about me not including every little funny moment. And I'm like, what did you guys expect me to do? I was assigned to write, hey, James, make sure you write about 500 words and get out of there. And that was it. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's an exhibition game. So I gave effort. I made sure there were no typos and things like that. But it was just funny seeing the reaction on both sides of some people saying, why'd you even write about this? And other side saying, I didn't write enough. And I'm like, well, it is what it is. It's an exhibition game. And honestly, I think the argument that the WNBA players made, which I kind of agree with, they were saying that their schedules were so jam-packed, they're playing more games this year than ever before with the 44, that it's kind of ridiculous to ask them, hey, oh, by the way, can you also, give an effort in the game? Because keep in mind, I got an email yesterday and the Fever practiced. And I was like, what? I just saw you yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, and you're practicing?
Yeah,
and
none of their All-Stars.
Thankfully,
but yes.
But still, I mean, it wasn't like, Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson and other people weren't doing anything all weekend. So that to me was kind of crazy, and they're right back to it, tomorrow in New York.
Yeah, C-Rod points out here, the NHL, you are right. That is probably a better resemblance than even Major League Baseball.
Oh, yeah, Four Nations was cracking.
But for the most part, certainly basketball, and I get it, football. And, I understand it. I just also need to point out, it's not like, I'm going to walk away and be like, boy, what that All-Star game was unbelievable. This is like, Kobe going one-on-one late in the game,
I always rate it, off. This is how I rate it, honestly, Kevin and Mark. I think of kids, your kids' age, and if they went and had a great time, it was a good All-Star weekend. And I saw a bunch of kids who were losing their minds at Paige Becker's launching from the 4-point line, and, Kelsey Plum playfully fouling Asia Wilson. And even at the end of the game, Kiki Erie of fame for the Washington Mystics misses the 4-pointer. Brianna Stewart, who's on her team, throws it to Kiki, and she switches it finally from the 4-point line to end the game. And I was thinking, does it really matter? I mean, Skylar Diggins, I had to write that she had the first triple-double in WNBA All-Star history. Felt a little nasty doing that because I'm like, this is, the biggest stat-boosted game ever. Even the fact that Nafisia Collier scored the most points in WNBA All-Star game history, but she made 4 4-pointers. So does it really count when the other teams didn't really have that in previous years? They've had it a couple years, they haven't had it a couple years. So all that to say, again, if the little kids have fun, that's enough for me.
Yeah, I honestly am talking to myself. I'm like, no, Kevin, you need to reset your expectations.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. As somebody who watches games,
don't expect this to be what it was, whatever. Even last year, of course, but 10, 15 years ago. But all in all, it seemed like, and it's not like I was downtown 24/7, 365, but it seemed like a great weekend. And honestly, across the WNBA, it seemed like the players really enjoyed their stay here in Indy. So coming up tomorrow night, it is Fever and Liberty once again out there in New York. And again, the Caitlin Clark update, unlikely to play. It sounds like she will spend the early part of this week talking with doctors, getting a clear plan for what exactly that right groin needs, as certainly her health is paramount here. About 2 months to go in the WNBA regular season. On this Monday, plenty of Colts talk. Again, this time tomorrow, we'll be up at Grand Park. Typically, players start to report 8:30, I think is kind of the target time for tomorrow. So, again, we'll have hopefully a couple players join us. A little bit of Colts news over the weekend that we will get to as well. But a good Monday morning to you. I think the rain is finally out of the Circle City, so you commute in.
Sure about that?
Of an issue. I think. I hope. I pray. I am Kevin Bowen. That was the voice of Mark Dykton, James Boyd as well. Thank you for starting off your week with the Fan Morning Show right here on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. All right, I guess we will begin with what happened here in downtown Indianapolis this past weekend. You go all the way back to Friday night, James. I did think the three-point contest was great. Sabrina Ionescu is a hell of a shooter. She showed that inside of Lucas Oil Stadium a couple years ago. Did it inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse Saturday night. What, was it 11 in a row she hit at one point?
Yes,
11.
Which was just unbelievable. She's the GOAT when it comes to that competition and really the best shooter in the WNBA. I know people here might roll their eyes with Caitlin Clark still in town, but Caitlin is chasing Sab.
Well, if Caitlin's got to shoot away from home, it's definitely not Caitlin Clark with how she shot it on the road this season. So, yes, you had Natasha Clow, which I didn't understand. Don't you need to finish all of the skill apparatuses to win the skills competition?
Yes, and I had WNBA fans getting mad about this on social media when I pointed this out, and I was like, this should be like a 3-second penalty if you don't finish a skill in the skills challenge, and people were mad about it. And I'm like, no, otherwise it's just a time challenge. It's how fast can you brick these shots and run?
Yeah, that made little sense to
so
me.
let's change that.
Game itself was what you should expect, I guess, from an all-star game.
Oh, it was riveting. It was competitive. It was, up and down. I saw some people playing real defense. It was, no.
You're going to have to show me those clips and make sure they're not
Fake news?
AI generated. But no, all in all, it seemed like people were very, very happy with how Indianapolis hosted this weekend, and I'm talking about from a WNBA point of view. Now things will shift back to the real action. Fever on the floor tomorrow night. They had practice late last night. They'll have practice again this afternoon. Travel to New York later today. Sounds like Caitlin Clark will miss tomorrow night, and I would assume that absence could last a little bit longer than that. A week for the Fever look like this. At the Liberty Tuesday, host the Vegas Aces on Thursday. At the Chicago Sky coming up on Sunday. Major League Baseball, Cubs 2-3, is that right, Mark? Reds 2-3.
Yep, they didn't get the sweep against the Red Sox, but took 2 of 3, the first 2 of 3.
And how about Joel A. Erickson's Brewers?
They don't lose, man.
Straight wins, a sweep of the Dodgers. Indianapolis Indians back at home after they were in Nashville for 2 of 3 and returning from the All-Star break.
I'm going to ask Joel when he comes on, like, can your Brewers lose just like a couple games? Would that be? Can we do that?
Yeah,
they don't. They've won. I think they beat the Dodgers all 6 times they played them.
Yeah, that would be nice for you and I's sake, which is kind of crazy to say that you're not going to be on the same page. On the same page with being a hell of a golfer. How about Scotty Scheffler?
I believe James picked Scheffler to win, and
Yes,
then you shunned him because you said that was like a soft pick, but it turned out being correct.
Gosh, he is so good.
I like to pick people who win.
Yeah,
That's usually how life goes.
I saw a tweet. I think it was Trevor Immelman, who's one of the golf announcers for CBS. He tweeted, like, Scotty just has an unbelievable knack for stringing together, like, 8 out of 10 golf shots. He's just so, like, every shot is above average. And when he has the very rare below average shot, the bounce back is insane.
Yeah, I just love the fact that he had went on that long rant about how he doesn't get anything or get any fulfillment from golf and, like, why does he do it and what's the point? And then you go out there and crush the competition. And so I feel like if I'm the person who lost to you and you're telling the world that you really don't care about it, I'm like, you know what? Let's just square up, okay? Let's just square up at this point because I can't be losing the golf tournament and losing to a guy who doesn't care. I got to win something.
Because he's done hard time now, so he's got that. He's at that dog in him.
That's the point, right? I did get a kick out of his son.
He's been in prison.
You see the still shot of his son like behind his back doing like the fist pump, and I saw the memes that are popping up. People were like, putting little caption bubbles, and one of them was like, "Did you expect him to lose? Like, what'd you expect?" And this is what my dad does, and so I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, the Tiger Woods wearing his emotions on the sleeve, and Tiger's personal life a little different than Scotty Scheffler off the course. So the British Open goes to Scotty Scheffler, 2 majors on the year for him. Toronto race, Pato Award gets it done. So second straight weekend, we've seen Pato in victory lane. How about Renus VK second, Kiffin Simpson third? 2 great podium stories there in Toronto, and the year of hell for Team Penske continues. Couple DNFs. There, and just another awful race for Roger Penske's cars. None of them in the top 10. The busy month of July continues for IndyCar. Laguna Seca coming up here to round things out this week. And James, you mentioned it earlier. I did. Obviously it was pretty rainy on Saturday. We pretty much stayed inside once we got home from WNBA Live and played a lot of games with the kids. Watched a little TBT action. So you got Butler's team still in it. All good dogs. Still playing. The Indiana team bowed out. That was Assembly Ball?
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't get a chance to watch much of that game, caught the end. But, yeah, they were smoked. It wasn't really that big of an up. I mean,
No.
it was an upset, but it wasn't like a dramatic game.
Yeah,
they just got beat.
They got drilled in the second half.
Yeah.
Fail Harder is the team that Butler will play tonight. All good dogs. They've got a couple of local connections. Darius Adams, Jesse Bingham, both UND Greyhounds. Kobe Webster played high school at Park Tudor there. So that is 8 o'clock. If you're looking for something to do tonight up at Hinkle, tickets tbthoops.com. If all good or the winner of that, they go to the regional championship, which will be tomorrow night. I want to say FS1 has your coverage for a lot of these games. Anything else on the weekend front?
Well, I have to throw some love to the Stud Buds, who Courtney Williams and Natasha Heidemann, who are teammates on the Minnesota Lynx. They had their live stream going through the WNBA All-Star weekend, and it was hilarious to see it both online and in person. I was at a party, and
can you elementary this and you did a good job of it, but any further explanation for people who have no idea what you're talking about? So
there are 2 women on the Minnesota Lynx team who are part of the LGBTQ community, and they started their own stream/podcast, I believe, and they were able to basically go around and give you unfiltered, access to All-Star Weekend that you would not see otherwise. I mean, they even had Caitlin Clark on their stream and her brother complaining about WNBA officiating, which I thought was hilarious. And they went around and put the camera on any and everybody. And I thought one of the funniest moments was having those 2 women dancing to Nuck If You Buck with Kathy Engelbert, who is the commissioner of the WNBA. So just imagine Roger Goodell dancing to Nuck If You Buck with, like, I don't know, Jalen Hurts and, Patrick Mahomes or something like that. It was just a really funny moment for the league, and I thought it was honestly a very good way to kind of promote the league in a very unique way. So not always, safe for work or PG, 13, but nevertheless, very funny moment throughout the entire weekend.
Shout out to West Lafayette's George Karloftis of Purdue Products signed a nice extension there.
Nice
4
is an
years,
understatement.
$93 million. Reminded that George Karloftis has played in the league for 3 years, and he's never not played in the Super Bowl.
What a flex.
That's a pretty good life, right?
It is, and he's a very good player. So, he
had a nice run, I think, in the Super Bowl. I know they didn't win it this year, but I thought he had a nice run.
I remember he gave people hell in the Big Ten.
He certainly did that. And rest in peace to a legend in the state in our industry, Bob Hamill, passing away at the age of 88. Was fortunate to know Bob. Back in my college days down there at Indiana, he was always super kind to me, and, again, a legend in the Herald Times, and probably best known for his relationship and I would say friendship with Bob Knight, but a true legend when it comes to sports writing in this state. Passed away over the weekend. All right, coming up on the other side, we'll get into the Colts conversation because at this point tomorrow we will be at Grand Park. It will be report day for training camp around the league. Let's touch on that on the other side. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton here on a Monday. Well, thanks for starting your week with us, Kevin Bowe and James Boyd and Mark Dykton. James and I will be up at Grand Park Tuesday through Friday, report day tomorrow for Colts training camp, and then Wednesday through Friday, morning practices. Morning practice again on Monday and Tuesday. So you will hear the show from Westfield and the Crows in the background coming up tomorrow morning. Couple of Colts items from the weekend. Again, I was never too worried about this, and I think you saw the dominoes start to fall there. JT Tuimoloau, nothing official from the Colts yet, but some reports over the weekend agreed to terms on his contract, so he should be good when training camp, again, opens up for good Wednesday morning when the Colts practice. And do you see Desmond Ridder found a home?
I did see that, and I believe, where did he end up, by the way?
Cincinnati, so back to his college roots.
Yes.
There for Desmond Ridder.
But for a brief moment, he was here trying out during veteran minicamp.
Yeah, so for those that missed that story, back in mid-June, Desmond Ridder did have a 3-day tryout with the Colts. He was one of about a half dozen veterans that tried out during the team's minicamp. He did not get really very many, if any, meaningful reps. So right now, as we sit here, 24 hours before report day, 4 quarterbacks are scheduled to report for training camp for the Colts. Those 4 would be Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, Riley Leonard, and Jason Bean. I guess I'm not too surprised by that, but I do think if an injury were to occur to Richardson, of course, being the one that you mentioned first, to Richardson or Jones, I still would not have Riley Leonard be a backup on game day as a rookie. I think if that situation were to arise in September, October, November, something like that, I do think a player like Desmond Ridder or some sort of veteran that's played in the league, you would go out there and get. But right now it looks like, and by the reports late last week, Anthony Richardson is good to go. So I would say the fact that the Colts haven't signed a quarterback yet, James, is probably a good thing for Richardson's overall health here for the start of training camp.
Yeah, and you have the GOAT, Jason Bean, as everyone always points out to me. Everyone loves the backup quarterback who has all the traits and physical attributes.
Preseason legend. Should be in the Colts Ring of Honor.
Exactly, until they play. So I do think it's a good point overall, though, Kevin. And honestly, for Anthony's sake, we just can't be having this conversation about health as we get deeper into camp. And as we get really throughout the season, he's, in my opinion, he's kind of walking on thin ice when it comes to the injury bug. And I know that's kind of crazy to say because he has gotten injured every year of his career. And he's kind of been injury prone if you date back to his high school days. But this is the year, I think, where you have to kind of put it all together. And at the very least, just stay healthy enough for them to evaluate you. Because I think what was sting the most from the Colts front office, even the fan base to a degree, the fans who still rock with Anthony Richardson, is the fact that if he gets hurt, there's always going to be a little bit of that what if of okay, well, what if he didn't? And I'm of the mindset of at least he'll get a clearer evaluation of him. If he stays healthy for the whole season, if he does, if he isn't good, then so be it. But if he isn't good or you can't really evaluate it because of the injuries, that will be, I think, a huge swing and a miss for this franchise. But, I mean, they're already, I think they're 2 strikes at this point? You got one last hack at it.
2 strikes, and I might argue you're down 0-2.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Very good way to put it.
I don't even know if you're sitting 2-2 or 3-2. If you
yeah.
Continue the baseball analogy. Chris Ballard will meet the media tomorrow around lunchtime. Your interest with the Colts GM, as weird as this sounds, James, is if this season were to derail, if this season were not to go according to what Chris Ballard wants it to go, James, tomorrow might be the final time we talk with him in a media session. That's just the reality of where things are at right now with this franchise. Typically, I kind of forget, does he talk at the 53-man roster cut down? I feel like some years we've heard from him, maybe some years we haven't. I don't know. Maybe we do hear from him then.
Yeah, I believe we usually get him, if I'm not mistaken, we'll get him in training camp, and then we'll get him right before the season starts.
So we'll talk with him one more time before that. But typically once the season gets underway,
you're not talking unless
it's bad.
Yeah, unless, the coaches getting changed or something like that. But I think one of the bigger questions I have related to Chris Ballard, and I guess Chris Ballard adjacent, will be just how long is his leash? Because we know that the late Jim Irsay had a big affinity for Chris Ballard. And I would argue that he liked Chris Ballard more than most owners would. I think that's a fair statement given his resume and the lack of success during his tenure. And I can't say one way or the other if that same affinity has transferred to the daughters now. But I can say that there will be pressure on him. And I think a little bit more just, how do I put this? I felt like Carly Ursay-Gordon was very direct in her opening press conference as the new principal owner of the team alongside her sisters, where she flat out said, Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen know they have to be better. They know this isn't our standard. Now, she did publicly back them. She said, I believe that they can get it done. But I did not get the vibe of, this guy's Michael Jordan, as Jim Irsay referred to Chris Ballard, or, Shane Steichen is Don Shula, as Jim Irsay liked to say. Those things aren't true. Whether it was Jim Irsay saying them or not, I think the daughters have taken a step back from that. And I'm curious just to see how, hands-on they will be, and also what is their balance between patience and impatience when it comes to correcting things.
You think we hear from Carly Ursay-Gordon at all during training camp? Her father did typically.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I would like to hear from her. It isn't required, obviously.
Her father typically did speak
he would usually
during a
do
joint practice.
Joint practice, and then at least speak on the broadcast in the third game,
right,
alongside Rick Venturi.
Yeah, and Greg Rakestraw,
Yeah, and so I just think that I would love for that to happen, but I'm not so sure. They were very reserved and quiet even before they took over as owners of the team, and perhaps part of that was because their dad was their dad, and he's very outspoken enough. But I don't necessarily know how that'll go. But I would just say I wouldn't bet on it, but I would certainly prefer it as a member of the media.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath either on it. But to get back to that point you made earlier, I probably said this when, unfortunately Jim passed and it became clear that Carly was going to be the lead voice now moving forward for the organization. I think she's just more of a math and a numbers person.
Who is this? I'm sorry?
Carly.
Yes.
Then more of a heart, making decisions with the emotional ties to it of, I think she'll look at the raw facts of, wait a minute, we're in our longest playoff drought in 30 years. Wait a minute, we haven't had a home playoff game in 10 years.
We haven't beat the Jaguars ever.
Wait a minute, only 3
in
teams
Jacksonville?
In the NFL have a longer playoff drought currently than us.
When you say that one really hits home. I'm like, wow. But also, dang, 4 years.
Yeah, so I think when you add up all of that, I guess to answer your question, I would assume that the seat is, to go with the seat warmer analogy we talked about late last week, is very, very warm. But there is still a little bit of the unknown. I do think she likes Chris Ballard. I don't think there's I don't think it's icy by any means from a relationship standpoint. And there is part of me that, thought to myself, if, Jim Irsay had been in better health the last couple off seasons, would we even still be here of a 9th year for the Colts GM? But again, Chris Ballard will meet the media coming up tomorrow. It'll be a report day out there for Colts training camp, and we'll be out there covering morning practices Wednesday through Friday. This is the longest stretch of consecutive practices we'll get all training camp long. We'll have 4 straight days, 3 morning practices and Saturdays and afternoon practice. That is definitely the longest stretch of consecutive days of work for the Colts at Grand Park. I bring that up because of Anthony Richardson. And I think we've now kind of gotten to the next rung of the ladder on the Richardson story. You confirmed Stephen Holder's report late last week that Richardson is back and throwing.
Yeah, I saw Stephen Holder, by the way, over the weekend. I told him, why are you making me work? This could have been a question answered by Chris Ballard on day one. We would have had news for the show. I'm like,
hey, Stephen was a busy man last week, and I saw him with Adam Schefter last week. I saw him.
And I told him he was a little underdressed, by the way. I'm like, Stephen Holder, who we all refer to, I would think, as the best dress on the beat. He is very, very sharp. And I said, where's the blazer?
Is that truly a compliment? By the way, Stephen Holder is a great dresser, but is that truly a compliment? Have you seen how some of us dress?
That is true. I don't wear a belt until Sundays, so.
You're saying he's the best in a low bar?
Oh, low bar, Mark.
But I actually think that he's a very good dresser.
That bar is buried 6 feet under.
I think he's a good dresser, though, overall.
No, I mean,
the
trust
man
me.
is sharp.
It would be like Scotty Scheffler golfing with all of us.
Fair enough. But I'll let you continue your point. I just wanted to give Holder a bit of a jab there. I'm like, dude, man, what are you doing? I'm WNBA All-Star Weekend. I'm writing about the quarterback.
Well, and I guess let me change it a little bit. We know Anthony Richardson is back and throwing.
Yes.
Okay, so what's your next Richardson question?
What capacity? Are you full go? Are you limited? Do they? And I genuinely want to know this. Is this something where they have to monitor his workload all the time? Like, is it a scenario where he doesn't go full bore ever again? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, how do you stop something like the spring from happening again where they say he reported aggravation? And I believe the way that Shane Steichen described it to us, Kevin, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something like, it's a stress thing. Like, how much stress can you put on the AC joint and on your shoulder? But I'm thinking, is this something you have to sort of monitor throughout the season to make sure that he stays healthy and he's not feeling that soreness? So all those questions are ones that I have for the Anthony Richardson approach. And what I love about training camp is that you can't really hide it. You can tell us one thing and, during the spring and we don't see every practice and it's like, oh, well, whatever. But for training camp, we'll know exactly what the plan is as far as his workload based off of what we see with our own two eyes.
Yeah, I guess my question, very similar to what you just said in regards to Richardson, would be how quickly do we get back to a 50-50 split?
Ooh, yeah, good question.
Wednesday's day 1, Thursday's 2, Friday's day 3, Saturday's day 4. By Saturday, are we splitting reps again? I think it's vital for Richardson that if we do Monday's show from Grand Park a week from today, and it's still Daniel Jones getting the majority of starting reps, that is not good at all for Anthony Richardson, because once we get to next week, we're like 9 days away from their preseason opener. The preseason opener is 2 weeks from Thursday, as insane as that sounds. But that's just how the preseason training camp schedule works for the Colts. A couple other Chris Ballard items I'll be curious about tomorrow. Just where is Zaire Franklin at? He was an injury that we saw in the spring. Unfortunately, a storyline that we do see occasionally around the NFL. The Colts have had one or two of these. Did anybody get hurt in kind of the 6 weeks away from the team? And I think such a massive storyline, non-quarterback related, non-really position battle related for this season is, does Kwity Paye and or Latu become a first-round pass rusher? Like, if you can get one of those guys, and again, Latu's only in year 2. Kwity, this is what, year 5 for him? Can Lou Anarumo unlock a true first-round rusher? I think Kwity Paye's been a fine player. He has not been a first-round pass rusher. Latu last year, I thought really kind of hit a rookie wall with about a handful of games to go. Can either of those guys become a great edge rusher for you?
Another one that I had was, how do you feel about your offensive line? Because this is the most change we've seen on this offensive line in a while, in a few years. And as much as you were prepared for it, because I think the plan was always to some degree to start Matt Gonzalez at some point, start Tanner Bortolini, who right now is competing with Danny Pinter for the starting center position, but you lost 40% of your offensive line. What does that mean as far as just trying to, gain some continuity, gain some experience together, get some reps together, and ultimately make sure you're not one of the compounding issues for your quarterback play, which is still going to be under a microscope.
Joel Erickson going to join us here coming up in 10 minutes. Could you fill our audience in? Does Kelsey Plum hate Caitlin Clark?
No, so you know what? And I shouldn't have jumped the gun. I actually deleted my tweet from yesterday when I threw the same question out there. It was a genuine question. I was like, why does she say this? And for those who are kind of confused, so when Kelsey Plum,
I guess start Saturday pregame if you don't mind. For those that were like, didn't pay attention at all, whatever.
Yeah. So
what happened Saturday pregame when they came on the floor?
So Saturday pregame, the WNBA players came out with a shirt from the WNBA Players Association that said, "Pay us what you owe us," in reference to their CBA negotiations with the WNBA right now, which, long story short, the current CBA for the WNBA expires October 31st, or after this season. And the women want more of the revenue share. And I believe their revenue split from what the WNBA brings in is very small compared to the men. And it's not even close. And before people get into the whole, where they're operating in a deficit, how much money should they get? Look, man, we all have had jobs. We don't care what the bosses do. We all deserve. We all think we deserve what we want as salary. So that's what they're fighting for. And when Kelsey Plum, who plays for the Los Angeles Sparks, was asked after the game, "Hey, why'd you all wear this why did you all wear this shirt? And the response was, well, we're trying to send a message. And I think Kelsey Plum was trying to be funny, Kevin, when she mentioned, and Kelsey Plum played for Team Collier, referencing Nafisia Collier, who was the captain of one of the teams. And she was like, well, we had a meeting about it and we decided to wear it. And oh, by the way, I don't know if I'm tattletaling, but, no members of Team Clark came to that meeting. And obviously, whenever you mention or invoke Caitlin Clark's name when it comes to anything that's kind of, I guess, serious, it can come off as you being like, well, dang, did you just take a shot at the biggest star in your sport? And honestly, I don't care what anybody says. Caitlin Clark coming to the WNBA at this point in time has helped everyone. Everyone. Like, we can argue about, who else was there building this, and I can't act like Caitlin Clark built the entire WNBA by herself, but she is certainly somebody who moved needles for you. There is no way that they were going to, in my opinion, have charter flights solved that quickly without her coming to the WNBA and being like, I can't fly commercially because I'm just way too famous.
Without question.
So
it's Tiger Woods walking on
exactly,
the PGA Tour in
yeah,
97.
It came off as a bit, to me, looking back at it, the joke did not land very well at all, in my
Sabrina
opinion.
Ionescu was sitting next to her at the time, who was also on Team Clark, and she was not too pleased
and she
with
was
it
like,
either.
why would you say that? And kind of laughed it off. And Kelsey did say, in defense, she was like, hey, I'm just trying to light the situation. But I'm like, no. Why are you playing around right now? Like, don't do that right now. You're trying to get paid. Like, no time for the funny stuff when you're trying to get money.
Yeah, well, that part, you're trying to get paid. Like, you need to show this sign of unity, like everybody wearing a T-shirt.
I'm like,
I'm
thinking, what? A meeting to wear a shirt? Hit the group text. Everyone wore it. And I kid you not, like, Caitlin Clark wearing that shirt is a huge benefit for them, regardless of if she comes out and says some grand speech. And in fairness to Caitlin, she showed up for the meeting that involved the commissioner. So again, if you missed the one about wearing the shirt, oh, by the way, just put it on.
Yeah, the finances of the WNBA confuses me. It's really over my head, frankly. So many people are like, hey, it's all these franchises are tied to the NBA. I'm like, okay, well, what about the Seattle Storm? What about the Las Vegas Aces? What about the Connecticut Sun? Aren't all of those in cities and places where we don't have an NBA team? That has always kind of confused me. I get like the Fever and owned by the Simons. I can understand that correlation, and that's how most of the WNBA teams are. And also, like, would the players just simply be happy if their revenue percentage matched the NBA? The NBA is a 50-50 split, right?
Yeah, if it's not 50-50, it's like 51-49. It's somewhere in that range.
The WNBA is like in the 20s?
Yeah, I believe so. It's very low.
So would it simply just be, hey, which obviously I get the dollars and cents, you would increase it significantly. Because right now, and you said October 31st.
Here it is. The WNBA, the players currently receive about 9.3% of the league's
It's not
revenue.
even in the 20s.
That is horrible.
Yeah.
Which, again, you can argue about, what do they deserve with their salaries? The league doesn't make enough money. Whatever. If I'm working and I'm putting in work and I'm making sure, by the way, these TV deals are booming, which is why they want to get the new CBA done. Give me more money. And for those who are out there like mad about this, which I'll never understand, Kevin and Mark, please feel free to weigh in. Is it our money? Who cares? Like, I will never be on the side of, the billionaires should keep more money. I don't care. Pay them. It's not my money.
Yeah, I guess the last kind of general question I would have on this is like, and again, we're 3 months away from deadline spur action, and we know how that works. But it does seem like we have gotten a real player threat about potentially the old sit out. And again, we're a long ways away. But and I'm trying to think. I guess we haven't had maybe a ton of labor discussions across big time sports here recently. But this is arguably the greatest and perhaps the only time where the WNBA players will be in a position like this, where a generational talent has walked into their league. You either take advantage of it or you're going to left asking yourself why you didn't maybe, X amount of years down the road. Do we get there? Because right now it does seem, it seems a bit icy between the players and the commissioner, i.e. the owners as well.
Yeah, the commissioner got drowned out during her speech when she was giving the All-Star Game MVP to Nafisia Collier with, chants from the crowd of pay them. And the players had the shirts, they had signs and things of that nature. So I don't know if we get to that point because everyone threatens a lockout, but the one thing that is very true is that when The NFL has done it in the past. The NBA has done it in the past. I remember, what was it, 2011 for the NBA, I believe. Your top stars make a ton of money, and they're fine. And you can't say that for the entire WNBA. Like, yeah, if they lock out, Caitlin Clark is fine. Sabrina Nescu is fine. But what about your third and fourth best players on the team?
Right.
They have to go make a livelihood somewhere. So that, to me, is certainly a big factor when it comes to lockout talks. And so we'll see how things go later on this year. But it certainly made for, I guess, a more newsworthy All-Star game. Because to me, that was my biggest takeaway. Was like, oh, they're trying to make a statement on one of the biggest platforms.
Oh, not Aaliyah Boston pulling up for the 4-point shot.
Oh, Lord,
time and time
brother.
Again.
I mean, I felt pretty good about it early on because Paige Beckers made the first one for Team Collier. And they were actually shooting it pretty well. And then they just started launching them. And I was like, you know what? This feels a lot like the last game at the YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
Like when everyone should have went home, but you were like, no, let's play one more. And then everyone's like, yeah, we shouldn't have played.
No, there was that moment where they had Caitlin Clark on the sideline. She's like, 4-point shots from here on out. I'm like, we don't have to do that,
and
though.
the WNBA is not a chucking league. Like, the
No.
NBA can, I mean, those guys do chuck a lot. But, I mean, they're also capable of, I think, hitting that shot on a more frequent rate. I think a lot of people like the WNBA or women's basketball in general because it is a little bit more of a, like, flowing 5-person offense. And, like, you're doing a lot of stuff inside the arc, and we definitely did not get that Saturday night. More on this. Ben Pickman covers the WNBA for The Athletic in the 9 o'clock hour. Up next, though, it's Colts Talk. Joel A. Erickson from The Star joins us next. I can see it now. Tomorrow in Westfield, a peacock strut from our next guest. This song might be playing in the background. I mean, he's the kid on summer vacation. He just took his girl to the movie theater. Travel baseball season couldn't have gone better. I mean, he's on top of the world, went to every camp, ice cream visits galore. His teams won 10 straight baseball games and just swept the Dodgers. He is Joel A. Erickson. Joel, I'm going to say congrats to you now so I don't have to say it tomorrow on how your Brewers are playing.
I am admittedly surprised. I probably shouldn't be, given their run over the last however many, since 18 basically. But I did not, when they lost 4 straight to the Yankees to open the season, I did not think that they would be tied for the second best record in baseball at this point.
Are you guys the new Cardinals?
Yeah. As much as it hurts me to admit that, because
that's a compliment.
So
it's a sick compliment. Mark Dykman almost barfed when I said that.
I puked a little bit in my mouth.
It's a jealous compliment. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. No, they are very much like that. They also they kind of win. People call it like devil magic or whatever, but really it's just defense and base running and winning on the margins.
Okay, all right. Now you really sound like a Cardinals fan. All right, man. Gosh. Well, just moving runners over, and timely bullpen.
Well, I mean, we can pivot to something that will put Joel in a perhaps a sadder mood. I don't know. Colts quarterback competition. It resumes, presumably, Joel, this week over at Grand Park. So, big picture-wise, what are some of the storylines, quarterback or non-quarterback, that you're looking at as we gear up for 2025 season?
Well, number one, I mean, I know we all reported last week that after Stephen Holder had ESPN Stephen Holder had it first that Richardson was throwing again. My understanding is that we still need to see where he is throwing. They had talked in earlier June about when he came back, we're going to ease him back into this. I'm curious what happens once the team doctors get him. But that's not knowing anything. That's just wondering what it's going to look like. And then if he is full go, I think the biggest thing for Richardson is, can he be more consistent? Can he be more consistent throwing the football on a daily basis? Can he prove to Shane Steichen that he can move the chains the way he needs him to?
Joel, position battle you have no idea on.
I feel like how everything shakes out at maybe offensive line. I feel like I know what's going to happen there, but there's also I was writing the other day and I was kind of thinking to myself, we know they want Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonzalez to have those spots, but these guys are still second-year players in the NFL. Gonzalez is playing a position that's not the position he's played mostly for the last however many years. Bortolini, for I think he was coming off of injury, but they did go with Danny Pinter twice late down the stretch. There's some uncertainty there with offensive line, and also if something happens to one of the tackles, you got Blake Freeland, who played a ton of snaps as a rookie, didn't really play last year. We don't really know anything about Jalen Travis from an NFL standpoint yet. I think that offensive line is maybe something that people aren't really talking about right now. That is maybe more of a question mark than maybe the attention we're giving it.
Joel, I do want to pivot a bit. So around this time of the year, there's usually a lot of optimism brewing from the big man, the late Jim Irsay, and we would hear from him throughout training camp, throughout the final preseason game, on the broadcast, and he would often mention a Lombardi or two, during his preseason, meetings with us. Now that the daughters are in place, what do you think it'll be like for this team to sort of adjust to their leadership style? And do you expect to hear from the Irsay daughters, or Carly Irsay Gordon specifically, leading up to the season.
That's interesting. I am expecting a little bit less public commentary from ownership, and that's really not that out there because, in most NFL cities, the owner does not speak publicly that often. I also think that, like you said, we're kind of used to having the one practice where we talk to Jim during the middle of the practice, and he's usually very optimistic. I got the sense from the press conference that they did, back earlier in the summer, that the group of daughters, especially Carly, is going to be much more, cautious with what they say. She didn't really pen herself in at all on any of the major questions surrounding the Colts when we talked to her, and I think that probably applies to the way she would, handicap the season if we asked her to do the same thing. Her approach was, we've got to wait and see how this all plays out, which, that's not really the way her father usually talked about the team at that point or this point of the season. He usually felt pretty optimistic about it. I just think that's probably the difference.
He's Joel A. Erickson from the Indianapolis Star. He's with us here again. Report day for the Colts coming up tomorrow. First practice Wednesday morning at Grand Park. The defense takes a jump this year, Joel, if what happens?
As long as the corners stay healthy. As long as the corners stay healthy, and maybe Cam Bynum stays healthy, I think the defense takes a jump. It's really, if you think back to where this corner room has been going into camp the last couple of years, it's incredible how different it looks at this point in the season. For the last however many years, it feels like they've gone into training camp with, I think probably, definitely 2 years of Gus Bradley's thing. They've gone into training camp with one spot open, not knowing who's going to necessarily fill that, and having young guys competing for that spot or both spots. Now you've got a bona fide number one corner in Ward. You've got Kenny Moore, who I'm expecting to be very interesting in Lou Anarumo's defense, just because we've seen what he can do with a nickel before. And then the amount of guys competing for playing time elsewhere, it's not just Juju Brents and Jalen Jones. It's Justin Wally. It's Sam Womack, who started 8 games last year. There's probably a ceiling with Womack as a starting outside corner, but we've seen him play well if put in the right situations. They've got Corey Ballantyne on the roster. It just feels like a much deeper position, and then much deeper, and then also on the top end is much higher than I can remember it being for a while. So it just feels like that's a position that's very different than what we're used to seeing.
Taking quarterback questions off the board, a question you have tomorrow for Chris Ballard.
Is there anything left that they can do at linebacker? It feels like there's a ton of risk in that position. Just in terms of you're betting on Carlisle, you're assuming Carlisle is going to make a leap. Most of the guys behind him are special teams types, or unproven younger players who don't really have snaps. Ballard would probably say yes. There's definitely something we can do at linebacker. We can get to the end of camp and see what shakes loose. But it just feels like that spot, regardless of how much they're going to use it or not use it or play other guys on third down, it feels like that spot to me is pretty thin right now.
Joel, I don't have a football-related question to cap this thing off, but I do know Joel is like our resident chef in the media room. So what have you been cooking up this summer? Anything new you try?
Again, another probably very low bar, especially with Mike Chappell's palate.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, Mike, I'm okay if I follow the directions. I'm not Joel.
What do you mean you're okay? You're Dino Nuggets at
no,
$3.75.
See, you ain't seeing me throw down. I do the Dino Nuggets because that's just convenient. But when I read and put a couple steps together, Kevin Bowen, I am nice. I am nice in the kitchen, but I am not Joel. So Joel, enlighten us on what you've been working on.
Well, the hardest thing, James, is when you have 3 kids and they're all running all over the place and doing stuff, is we're starting to get to the point where we've got to figure out how to make food when we're not standing there.
Which is why I choose Dino Nuggets, by the way. But continue.
That is the difficulty. Now, the smoker helps. Every once in a while, a pork shoulder can help for a week. The slow cooker helps, but that's the thing right now is that, like, in terms of really getting into it and trying new stuff, we're just not home enough on a lot of nights to really do that. And then as all parents will know, you've got one kid who will only eat meat, one kid who only eats food that tastes he thinks is junk food, and then the baby who knows what he might eat on any given day. So that's the hard part with cooking now is, like, if I want to make something really good, I usually have to, like, make it for just me and my wife, and then hedge our bets with something for the kids, and then the kids end up liking it and they eat half the food I made for us anyway.
You know what? Don't worry about it, Joel. I'll bring my Tupperware to work, a couple of days. So if you got anything you want to drop off, brother, I'm there.
You look like T.J. McConnell walking into Game 3 of the finals. Mom spaghetti. Shout out Marshall Mathers. Joel, I forget if you – I don't know if you were full go on the baseball stadium tour, but was there a fun visit you or the boys did this summer?
We did Target Field in Minnesota this time. We were up – our time in Wisconsin did not – coincide with like a homestand for the Brewers, and where my dad lives is about an hour and a half-ish from Target Field. So we went and did Target Field. Very nice. I will say this: it gives more of a stadium feel than like a ballpark feel to me. It's downtown. It feels big. It feels huge and concrete and everything like that. It's a great view of downtown.
Is it near the football stadium?
No, it's kind of on the other end of downtown. It's kind of like off on another side of it. We saw Rick Venturi's Rays against the Twins.
Oh.
And
I thought you said you saw Rick Venturi. I was going to be like, man, what are the odds of that?
I thought you said he saw Rick Venturi at a rave, and I was like, wow, that would be something.
Well,
man, Rick Venturi ain't going to a rave unless it involves, cornerbacks and quarterback play, or him arguing about who should be the third string right tackle.
Oh, it's either that, or if you ever walk up on me and Rick during training camp, we might be talking about that stuff, and we might be talking about Junior Caminero.
I'm going to guess the latter, knowing how you two operate. His Brewers are really good. I'm calling them the modern Cardinals. I guess they've yet to really win anything yet, but still, they just make me jealous as a fan. So, Joel, congrats on that. In all seriousness, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yep, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
Joel A. Erickson, right there from the Indianapolis Star. Great dude, great human.
He really is one of my favorite people in the world, and so I'm excited to get back with everybody for training camp. And I know Joel is going to have his questions, and we will all be kind of ready to – it's always funny because we do it, I believe, in a pretty respectful way, but I'm sure all of us have questions like, all right, it's time to, basically hammer the GM again and try to put some feet to the fire, which is what any team would do this time of the year or any people would do on the beat this time of year. And of course, we got questions, and we need a couple answers.
No quarterback session tomorrow, is that correct? We'll hear from the quarterbacks after the first practice Wednesday. Is that the sound?
Yes. And I'm excited to hear from both of them. What's your perspective? Well, excited might be a stretch because I can probably predict what either will say, but I do want to hear from them, and particularly when it comes to Anthony. What did you do?
We did not talk with Anthony at the end of the spring.
No.
When he was hurt.
Exactly. So, what did you do to get yourself back on track? How do you monitor your shoulder? And obviously the big picture question of, how do you win this job and make sure that you aren't the number 4 pick who we look back on and say, why the heck did they pick him?
I forget the exact dollar amount, and I think maybe it hasn't even been finalized yet, but I'm going to ballpark like north of $10 million. This is like it's like a $15 million tryout this year for Anthony Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the Colts' first financial decision on Richardson has to come after the season. By next spring, they will either pick up the team option, which would give him that type of payday, that type of increase in his contract, or they would decline that option, therefore sending him to free agency a year earlier, or I should say ending his rookie contract a year earlier. No matter what, we know he's under contract for next season, 2026, but that's what is at stake for him this year. And that's different. I mean, that's different than the first couple of years of this. And when you talk about a player that I think it's fair to say, financially, the family impact of the type of money that he has made and how many people, he did not grow up in this, 5-star quarterback Elite 11 camp, at a very young age. Hey, we've got a prized quarterback arm. Let's kind of isolate this kid. No. I mean, he's still very in tune and locked in with his hometown, his people there. That financial stuff, I think, carries even more of a burden on him, to be honest with you. So among all the Richardson questions, that is something that he can't ignore. That's at stake here in 2025.
The Colts going to split up like media availability for quarterbacks like they do with their quarterback competition. Like, Daniel, you got first team media reps today. Anthony, you're taking number 2. Tomorrow we switch it up.
Who would be in the first team media?
Oh
group,
my
Mark?
gosh.
You gonna signal out some names here?
I'm just asking.
Well, I think Chap by default has to be first team media.
Oh, he's got the C on his chest.
Oh, he's the Patrick Mahomes.
We know what I love about Chap is that, and we make fun of this all the time. We all make fun of each other. But Chap will sort of like say a statement towards a player, and then he's just like, he has like on the end. So he's like, so I can probably predict what he's gonna ask Anthony tomorrow. He's gonna be like, hey, Anthony, you missed the spring. You probably need those. You need some reps, right? Huh? And then he's going to be like, yeah, I should probably get some reps in. So I'm looking forward to some of the question statements from the dean, Mike Chappell, who, by the way, is a great reporter. I don't mean it in that way. It's just funny that we all have our little quirks about each other. I just know Chap he's so like, which I've learned from, he's just in your face. There is no like fluff. He's like, by the way, you need to play. And he's probably going to look at him and say yes.
He's been doing it long enough where he's like, I don't have time for this.
No.
Which I
Let's
love
not
that.
BS around.
I love that.
Lunch is getting cold. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. His what is it? Turkey on bread, no lettuce.
Literally, that's what Mike Chappell. He's taking to Joel A. Erickson for that. Again, coming up 9 o'clock hour. Ben Pickman covers the WNBA. It was a busy weekend here in the Circle City, and we'll hit on that here to start this morning checkdown. James Boyd, my biggest on-court takeaway from the weekend, and I probably didn't need to watch Friday night to be reminded of it, but Sabrina Ionescu can shoot the cover off of it.
Yes, and it was just funny to hear how maniacal she is about shooting, because she was like, yeah, I left a few easy ones out there. I'm like, you scored 30 points in this shooting contest. You made 11 in a row, Sabrina. So she's an awesome shooter, the best shooter, I think, in the WNBA, and it is proof in the pudding when it comes to her now becoming a 2-time three-point contest champion.
I was glad that Lexi Hall hit a few late. I think anytime you're the hometown player, you
just don't go out sad. I thought she did okay
to be in the competition. That's always nice to see. And also shout out to Sabrina Ionescu, who it sounds like she split her $60,000 prize with Sonia Centrone, the rookie from the Mystics.
Where she played college basketball?
For the Irish, of course,
okay.
Up there in South Bend. But I thought that was a cool gesture. I mean, Sonia looked pretty nervous, and a rookie in those competitions, I think, would be nervous. That was a very star-studded three-point group, and $30,000 to a rookie in the WNBA is a whole lot of money.
Yeah, I thought my name was Sonia Citron for a while there. When she announced it, I was like, oh, my ears perked up and everything. And then, I realized I'm still James.
We talked some baseball with Joel Erickson. The Brewers are unbelievably hot right now. Reds take 2 of 3. Cubs take 2 of 3 as we now are back to regularly scheduled programming. The Indians at home this week. A lot of night games until the day game on Sunday as they return to Victory Field. Scotty Scheffler is your British Open champion. Either of you catch any of Scotty's rather casual stroll yesterday?
I did catch a little bit of it, but honestly, it's just, you pointed out earlier, and I'm not, some golf aficionado, as you all know, but the dude makes that sport look way too easy sometimes. And that's what is kind of like insane to me. Because I'm like, wait a second. You are going up against the best players in the world on, courses that should not be easy, and you make it look like you're at a mini golf thing or something. And the guy is he's very good. And anytime you get mentioned in the same breath as Tiger Woods and others, you're just you're doing something special with your career.
One of Tiger's greatest qualities was bouncing back. Scotty yesterday makes a double bogey on whatever it was, 8 or 9. I thought to myself, oh boy, do I need to scoot up on the couch No, and just calm birdie there on the next hole and back in cruise control the rest of the way there. So Scotty Scheffler, 2 majors this year. Some really cool scenes on the 18th green with his son and his wife. His son probably only knows. Oh, wow, this seems like Daddy does this every single Sunday that I get to somewhat run. Looks like he's now trying to walk his son out on the 18th green.
It's like Boston sports fans, just like kids growing up. Like, I just assume we're winning a championship in some sport every year.
So true.
Yeah, it must be a good life.
Good life for Pato Ward. The Papaya Orange was loud and proud yesterday north of the border, and he got it done in front of the McLaren CEO, Zach Brown, attending the race yesterday. And great stories, second and third. That would be Renus VK, and that would be Kiffin Simpson. 2 names you don't. I know Renus has had a great year for Dale Coyne Racing, but still names you don't typically see. Second and third, and the horrific year for Team Penske continues. Scott McLaughlin was first out yesterday. Neither Joseph Newgarden nor Will Power in the top 10. It has just been an absolutely awful, awful year. Some might say karma, but it's been terrible for Penske. And Alex Palou showed he was human. Picked the wrong strategy and finished 12th. So we're not used to that from Alex Palou. Laguna Seca to round out what has been a crazy busy month of July for IndyCar. You guys see Peyton Manning's son reportedly is going to high school in Tennessee?
No. That's unsurprising, though, I would say.
Well, doesn't he live in Colorado?
Is it
No,
like a
that's
prep
just
school? If it's a prep school, I'm not too surprised by it because they have like the campus and
The Baylor School in Chattanooga, I believe, if I have this right. Now he's going to be an 8th grader. I don't know. I feel like some schools in the South you can you go to high school early here, but Chattanooga's not near Knoxville, is it?
yeah, it's a private boarding school, so I figured it'd be something where you're, kind of living on your own.
It's just an easy private jet from Colorado to Tennessee every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I've done it before.
Yeah.
Gosh, this campus looks incredible.
It does look very nice.
Founded in 1893.
This is like Jeff's kids currently over at the Oxford summer camp.
Is Jeff still cycling? Is he attending the Tour de France? Have we heard from him in a few days?
Haven't heard from him. Assuming he's still watching that happen. I saw a commercial for it. I'm like, God bless you.
Where are we at? Are we at stage 32 in the Tour de France?
I'm at stage who cares, usually.
Don't say that too loud.
Okay, you are asking the wrong person. I don't know anything about that. All I know is, when it gets down to the end, usually Twitter will tell me.
TBT tournament at Hinkle coming up tonight. The Indiana team bowed out over the weekend.
Assembly ball, come on.
Fail
Can't lose
harder.
with a name like that.
That name was so good.
Which
They
Fail
failed.
Harder's got a lot of local ties.
Yeah.
Shout out to Darius Adams, Jesse Bingham from UIndy, Kobe Webster Park Tudor product there. Actually watched a good amount of that game during the rain on Saturday there. So big second half for them. Assembly ball. It looked like all of those lead guys were hurt. Like Yogi and James. You guys had James Blackman Jr. on, right?
Yeah, and he's told us that he probably wasn't going to play because of some knee recovery things going on.
So the Butler team, all good dogs. Tyler Weidman, shout out to the Lake Central product there. I don't remember him shooting the 3 back at Butler, but he had a couple threes. They beat Valpo, the Valpo team, on Saturday. So that'd be tonight, 8 o'clock. If you're looking for something to do over there at Hinkle, it's all good dogs against Fail Harder. The winner of that goes to the regional championship, which is tomorrow night, and that would create a final 8 there. Again, $1 million prize for the TBT tournament. All right, on the other side, much more on the Colts conversation. Report day is tomorrow. Training camp practices will be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, Saturday afternoon. Here in week 1, anything lingering from the Pacers Summer League, we'll touch on that as well. It's Kevin Bowe and James Boyd and Mark Dykton here on a Monday. So do we? Does Indy like Angel Reese after her tweet over the weekend? Chris Gall from Visit Indy, maybe printing that out, putting it on some pamphlets.
She was right though. It was hot before the rain started the last couple of days. I
thought she was talking about
blazing.
the partying. I didn't think she was talking about the temperature.
I think it was both.
I think Kelsey Plum might get more hate now.
Yeah, but Angel Reese actually got a very good reaction from the crowd over at Gamers Fieldhouse when she got introduced for her second straight All-Star game.
Definitely saw a good amount of Angel Reese apparel over at WNBA Live on Saturday. Angel tweeted this: "We in Indy, but it feels like Miami." So that was temperature. That wasn't club. I was kind of hoping that was
I think it's both. Honestly,
our
it
electric
was,
club scene downtown.
I think the best cities usually have, when it comes to the club scene, usually has the best weather, and so yeah, she was outside.
Tyrese Halliburton on one of the wheeling carts making an appearance at WNBA All-Star game?
Yeah, one of my buddies was asking me, hey, is he going to be here? And I was like, yes, he lives here. And she
also loves the W.
Yeah, exactly. And she was kind of like looking at me like, are you sure? And I was like, yes. Like, and not to be rude, but what else does he have to do right now? He's kind of just waiting until he can really begin his rehab. And so I figured he would do, like as most hoop junkies do, you go and watch basketball. And that's what he did.
That's James Ward. I'm Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton. Again, we're with you all week long. We'll be up in Westfield. James and I coming up Tuesday through Friday morning practice times, which means we'll have morning shows out there for Colts training camp. You know, it's interesting. I was watching Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner. I was watching her press conference over the weekend, and at one point she mentioned, I think that the discussion was generally around TV ratings or just, you know, watching your league and the appeal around it, and she had just brought up the Pacers and the Thunder going to a Game 7. And I don't know if you felt this way since the Pacers season ended. What are we? Are we like a full month away? I think it was like June 23rd, June 22nd might have been the last Pacer game. I hadn't had a reminder in a while, but when she said that, I was reminded. I was like, oh yeah. The Pacers and the Thunder played a 7-game NBA Finals. Like, we just watched, and I get the ending, and I think we've touched on the ending, and obviously seeing Tyrese Halliburton on one of those walking scooter carts is a quite harsh reminder of it. But I'm like, we just got a once-in-a-lifetime Pacers season. All of it.
I was going to say, did we just get a once-in-a-lifetime season, period, when it comes to NBA basketball? I don't know if any team can replicate that. That was incredible. The game winners, the dramatic comebacks, not having like the bona fide superstar, in my opinion, and having, as Miles Turner, who is now, I guess, has defected, the power of friendship pushing them to the brink of history. So it was a fun ride. It was truly, I mean, it was high stakes. It was stressful. It was joyful. I was thinking the other day, Kevin, remember the show we had to do after, you know, the same day that Jim Irsay died, unfortunately, was also the same night that the crazy game-tying shot in the Garden happened where Tyrese Halliburton hits the back iron and it goes way up to the sky and it comes down. So we had a variety of just unique experiences because of this Pacers team that I don't know if will ever be replicated. And honestly, I feel confident in saying it will never be replicated.
Yeah, I remember saying this at one point. I forget if it was after the Cleveland comeback and the Halliburton shot or if it was game 1 of the Knicks, but you know, it's just like we got 8 points in 9 seconds on like 4 different occasions.
Yes, and I remember you telling me like, hey, this is for all the kids who didn't experience this because you were too young, obviously, you weren't born yet. This is what it felt like. And we got that pretty much once a week for a month. It was crazy.
Again, we'll be up tomorrow, report day from Westfield. I believe Kenny Moore will be joining us. So he will be one of hopefully 2 Colts players that will join us on set. He was busy this weekend, was he not? I could have sworn I saw him involved in some activities. I don't know. Kenny's pretty active in the community, so maybe I'm thinking of something else. Did you see him at any of the events that you were at, or
I did not, but I do know that So Kenny Moore and Zaire Franklin.
I it was pickleball related.
Yeah, and it was Erica Wheeler put on, former Indiana Fever, now with the Seattle Storm, put on a pickleball tournament here in Indianapolis, or at least in the Indianapolis area over All-Star Weekend. Those two were involved. I did get a chance to see Erica Wheeler. She stopped by and spoke at a panel at one of the stores one of my friends was involved with. It's called We Don't Run From Adversity. It's over on Mass Ave. And, we go to the store, and she was speaking on the panel, and I think that she was very fitting for the store name. And the clothing brand is called, literally, We Don't Run From Adversity. And I was thinking Erica Wheeler is the embodiment of that. And so I had a chance to kind of catch up with her. And she still has a lot of love for Indianapolis and is still loved by Indianapolis right back.
Kenny Moore has always struck me as a Colt player that if you were asked to do some sort of decathlon type of like sporting event, like go tell Kenny Moore to play soccer, go tell him to be like a defensive point guard in basketball, go tell him to play pickleball, he would probably be like my first pick and be like, no, that dude he strikes me as an insanely gifted athlete.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever had a chance to talk to him, but he was telling me like he's pretty much, and he didn't say it arrogantly, and Kenny isn't even that type of person, but he's pretty good at all the sports. Like he's not someone who just, like he was telling me, I think he played a little baseball growing up, not clueless on the basketball court. And I do think that, besides like size, which might have been the reason why, you don't go the basketball route or whatever, but athletically, as far as just jumping, moving, and things like that, like, yeah, he can hang on anybody. And he's got the longest arms ever, which is probably why he plays DB.
So again, Kenny Moore, the second scheduled to join us coming up tomorrow. We'll be up there reporting. Hey, Chris Ballard scheduled to meet the media as a whole a little bit closer to lunchtime. One more Pacer item that I was thinking about kind of exiting Summer League. Actually, we're chatting a little bit on the broadcast. I couldn't believe the Pacers were on ESPN on 9 o'clock. That was after the WNBA skills competition. It's like, oh, Pacers Pelicans upcoming on Summer League. I'm like, oh my.
Summer sports calendar's a bit thin. They'll take whatever they can get.
I guess here comes a 5-minute feature on Keisei Tominaga here for the Pacers Summer League. Benedict Matherin's a starter next year, right?
Yeah, I was from what Mark
better be.
What Mark said, yes, took the words right out of my mouth. Yes.
Okay.
I think he has to be.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I mean, oh Lord. Who? Okay, well, devil's advocate, who would be in play? Ben Shepherd?
Yeah, I don't know that answer.
I'm like, man, that dude has to. He's a number 6 pick, and he's not a scrub. Like he's not a bust.
Now, one thing Rick Carlisle has loved is he's loved to have multiple ball handlers in the starting lineup. He's had that with Tyrese Halliburton and Andrew Nembhard. So if you put Benedict Mathurin in the starting lineup, Benedict Mathurin and Aaron Nesmith, not probably initiating and creating for you. Like Andrew Nembhard can sometimes take that off of Tyrese Halliburton's plate. So, yes, I am of the same assumption as you, but I don't know. It's a question that Pacers organizationally, I don't know if they meet it with the same amount of convincing that you two had.
Honestly, that might be something to keep an eye on because that viewpoint matters a lot more than our viewpoint. But I would start him. I mean, if you can't figure it out with Tyrese Halliburton now, Miles Turner is gone, you're kind of going a little bit through a reset year. This is the year to get the ball in his hands and rock out.
Well, you're talking about possibly an extension as well, too?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you like to see?
But this gets back into the debate we've had. You're asking guys to be in roles that you're theoretically not going to pay them for, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where this gets into our Friday conversation.
But
and for those that missed it on Friday with Mathurin, I think the hardest thing with Mathurin contractually is there's this question of like, what is he? I guess to simplify it. Is he a starter? Or is he just like a very good scoring 6-man? This year, again, I assume he will be a starter. We'll see how it all plays out. But if he goes off and has a great year, all of a sudden, his team and him are going to say, no, you pay him to be a lead scorer for you in a starting lineup. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Pacers might sit there and say, well, when Tyrese comes back, he's actually more of a 6-man scorer. Mm-hmm. I think the Mathurin thing lacks so much clarity, I guess is what I'm getting at. What is he? How does the organization view him? And how does the rest of the NBA view him? All three of those things. He's got to obviously prove himself at another level. Then how do the Pacers view him? And then how do 29 other NBA teams view him?
That is a good question because, I mean, ultimately it comes down to what your team thinks of you. And we saw that very clearly when it comes to the Miles Turner signing with the Bucks. Like the Bucks clearly thought that he was better or worth more than perhaps some other teams or perhaps even the Pacers. But
Just takes one, right?
Yeah, all it takes is one. But I just think that, and my final point on this will be, if you want to get back to title contention, ideally, the quickest way to do that will be for Benedict Mathurin or Jarris Walker to become a dude.
Yeah.
And I think this
I agree
is
on
the
that.
year to kind of see, can Benedict Mathurin, with a bigger workload, become a dude? I think that he's been a dude in moments, but can you do that for us every single night? That's the question.
More dude moments needed from Benedict Mathurin. That's the voice of James Boyd. We'll throw some Colts questions James' way coming up on the other side. This is the Fan Morning Show. Thank you for beginning your week on a nice start to this Monday morning here in Indy. Thank you for starting it with us. Ben Pickman covers the WNBA for The Athletic. He'll join us coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Again, the Fever did have a practice yesterday for their non-All-Stars late last night. That also was a media availability. With Stephanie White, the update there on Caitlin Clark sounds like she will not play tomorrow night. And with a busy weekend, her further evaluation of the right groin, it sounds like that's taking place like right now, early this week. She'll meet with some doctors. The hope is to get a clear evaluation. And James, I know it doesn't sound ideal, but I'd be totally good with not seeing her until sometime in August. I think she needs real rest.
Yeah, as I've said over the last couple of weeks, as Caitlin has dealt with these injuries, I think the league, the team, whoever it is who decides how long she'll be out, they're hesitant to say out loud how long she'll be out. Because in my mind, I think it's kind of a joke to say she's day-to-day. What do you mean? We've said this for weeks now or throughout the entire season when it comes to these injuries that have sort of piled up. You need to be telling us she's week to week or she's going to be out for a few weeks. She'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks, whatever the case may be. But to continue to sit up here and tell us every day she's day-to-day, for what? For who? Because, again, if you rush her back out there and she pulls another groin or, a hamstring or whatever the case may be, then what do you say?
Yeah, I don't know if that's like PR trying to like save ticket sale face or
maybe
what.
Perhaps, but at some point protect the player and just protect the integrity of the game.
And to be
like
fair
if she's not healthy, just say that.
Well, and to be fair to the Fever, the first injury she had, I believe they did put out a statement and said she would miss 2 weeks.
Yes, that's
so
fair.
There has been a point where they have gone there. So
Well, I guess I'm glad you pointed that out because I had honestly forgotten about that. So I do want to, backtrack a little bit, but then I'll counter and say, well, what's stopping them from saying that now?
Right. No.
Because
I totally
we
hear
know that, again, she's kind of been dealing with some stuff all year.
And you're kind of in a weird spot as a team. You're 12-11. You've got, 20 games left, 21 games left, something like that?
Yeah, they're the 6th seed currently. Top 8 teams make it in the WNBA. No, doesn't matter what conference you're in.
So you're not you're okay. You're not secure by any means into a playoff spot. They have proven they can win some games without her. It hasn't been just like absolutely horrific without her. So, there is part of me that says, all right, can you weather whatever storm here for, let's call it 2 to 3 weeks without her? That would still leave a month and probably a week left of the regular season. The thought there is you obviously reintegrate her. You hope that you are, a little bit above 500 with her in the lineup. That then secures your playoff spot, and you see what happens. Because no 2 or 3 seed is going to want to see the Fever opposite them in round 1 with a healthy Caitlin Clark.
No. And they've shown when healthy, they can play some of the best basketball in the W. They can beat some of the best teams. And I get people might roll their eyes in different markets and say, oh, well, the Fever are 12-11 for a reason, and they've also lost to some of the worst teams in the league, including the Connecticut Sun. But my biggest thing is just get her healthy, and then you just figure it out from there, man. Like, if you go into a series and you have the best player or the second best player and she's playing healthy and Caitlin Clark, you got a shot because in basketball, probably more than any other sport, if you got the best player, I feel like you always have like a puncher's chance of pulling off an upset. And keep in mind, I believe the first round of the WNBA playoffs is 3 games? So this isn't some super long series that you're facing.
Is it still 3? Did I hear correctly the finals is going to 7?
Yes, I believe the finals is going to 7. I'll have to check and double check.
Round
here.
1 is still 3.
Yeah, I knew it was 3 last year. Now I'll double check.
Yeah.
But,
well, the Fever got swept. They lost the first 2.
Which is crazy to say because
wasn't it the first 2 was in Connecticut, right? They didn't even get a home game?
Yeah, which they switched that. I believe now it's 1-1-1.
Okay. I do like that.
So you're guaranteed a home playoff game.
Boy, if you steal that game 1. Oh, man.
I know.
You got a home game to try and move on to the next round. Mark, the favorite thing your girls did this weekend related to the WNBA All-Star weekend. Mark and I ran into each other at the WNBA Live at the Convention Center Saturday afternoon.
I would say they like the bounce event that was early Saturday morning that they did. That was from the library all the way to Monument Circle. That was a good time because they did a lot of activities on the circle.
There were a ton of kids at that.
Yes, that was a very good time. It was insane to hear the echo of all the thousands of basketballs going down the street.
Don't get in my lane dribbling down here.
There was mascots running around. The Colts cheerleaders were out there. Blue was signing autographs. It was a wild time. So that was actually pretty cool. They did like the WNBA Live stuff, all the free swag they got. So I think we have more Starry than we know what to do with in our refrigerator right now.
Yeah.
I did like the potato chips that came with Starry.
Those were very good. Yes, there's cinnamon sugar, which the kids are big fans of.
Rosie went for the Parmesan garlic.
Those were good as well. I'd like to
Never been prouder as a father.
Add some hummus to that. I feel like it'd be chef's kiss.
Well, that does sound good.
Yeah. But no, they had a good time, and then they did the skills competition. But like you said, not exactly kid friendly because they're regulation rims. I'm like, what kid is hitting these shots? I texted James. It's like none of these kids are hitting any of these shots
well,
whatsoever.
That's why the circle was so great. The circle, Monument Circle here, had different levels of the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy.
Yeah.
To access if you were someone.
I got a couple dunks in just
a little bit younger. Oh yeah.
I got to be able to live that dream somewhere.
And then they had all the Panini cards that they accumulated from the day, and so we were watching the All-Star game Saturday night. They had them all laid out on our floor, and they're going over like which player they had and was that player in the game at the time.
I like that.
That is
like,
the
Angel
most
Reese, where's she? I'm like, she's in the pink
basketball thing
shoes.
ever. I love that.
Yeah, Rosie went Paige Beckers there. It was kind of an upset for me. She did not take the Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, my other daughter, Emma, took Paige Beckers, and then Addison took Caitlin Clark, and then she opened the Panini cards and got a Caitlin Clark card, and she was very excited.
To your point about Paige, when they played here shortly before the All-Star break, that was the only other player to me that drew the reaction that Caitlin draws everywhere she goes.
It's funny you said. I had a few people that I live by. They went to the Butler UConn game over at Hinkle.
Yeah.
And they could not believe, and they went because of Paige, but they could not believe just the sheer number of people over at Hinkle to watch her. And obviously UConn's a draw itself, and UConn's got some local flavor, but still. I think not to like rank cheering or like the loudness of cheers, but I guess would you put Paige second behind Caitlin, or I guess, I don't know, Angel Reese up there?
Yeah, honestly, I probably put Paige second. Just I feel like she has more of a universal type of love.
And she had more hype coming into college than Caitlin.
Yeah, I mean, she was Caitlin before Caitlin when it comes to the attention explosion. But yeah, it was crazy. I mean, the way people reacted to her, it reminds me again of like Steph Curry, LeBron James, and people of that ilk. But when we're talking about the queen of them all, it is still probably Caitlin. Not even probably, it's still Caitlin. Like the fan demand is absolutely crazy. I thought it was really cool that Caitlin, even though she was injured for the All-Star game, I believe during halftime, it might have been some kids with some very, affluent parents who were down there getting her to sign stuff, and she was being very gracious with her time with that as well.
Now, not to get too much into your personal life, but it sounded like you had some fun entertainment experiences at night.
Yeah.
In the WNBA
I pretty much
scene.
went to every party that my friends were like, hey, do you want to go? I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up at a few different establishments, and as a non-drinker, I did not have any hangovers the next day, but I certainly had a good time. I was dancing and, got to see a lot of people in the WNBA space who were out and about enjoying Indiana. Let's just say that.
Any run-ins? Any name drops?
I will say that I'll name drop
I'm
this
asking
person.
you to brag, I guess.
The coolest thing was I ended up at a party at Commission Row. First time ever going there, by the way.
That place looks so nice from the outside.
Yeah.
I'm too afraid to walk inside.
Lisa Leslie was in there.
Oh.
And when she walked by, I was like, dang, like that is like one of the GOATs of women's basketball. So seeing her in person and seeing a few other WNBA players like Shania Bumake was walking into one of the parties when I was leaving, and she was asking how we were doing. I'm like, wow, like you're on ESPN every day. And your, sister plays in the WNBA. You played in the WNBA as well. So that was really cool. I saw Flau'jae, basically grab the mic and give a performance. Flau'jae Johnson for LSU.
The LSU legend.
Former Angel Reese teammate and national champion, one of the best players. I believe she's going to be the running for #1 pick next year in the WNBA draft. But, yeah, so I saw a lot of different people throughout the weekend, bless you. And it was fun. I had a good time.
It was crazy how, like, we came back downtown yesterday with my brother and sister-in-law who were in visiting. We were driving downtown. And it's almost like the WNBA All-Star game never happened because they took, all the signage off Gainbridge, that's completely gone already. They moved in and out. It was kind of wild. So my niece was like, oh, Caitlin Clark's on the thing. I'm like, yeah, that's about all it. I mean, the street signs are still there, but they are breaking everything down very quickly. So it just shows you how quick these events come and go. Now they're set up for Brickyard.
I don't know if it's like the summertime, like it's lighter in the mornings, it's lighter at night, and we're just generally out more. And I'm trying to think, like, NBA All-Star game was February. It's obviously winter, darker. When you have whatever, even the Super Bowl, I know the weather was good, but still, it just seemed like I noticed so much more of the signage.
Yeah.
This time. And again, I mean, when we're driving into work, it's light out. It's not always light out at other times, but it just seemed like the signage was bigger and everywhere.
Bigger
and I'm not
everywhere.
just talking about the Caitlin Clark, Nike ad on the JW.
No, there's Paige Becker's banners hanging down. There's Tamika Catching's like murals painted up and everything. It was all over the place.
Shifting gears a little bit here, Colts. We'll talk with Ben Pickman coming up at 9:30 from a WNBA standpoint. But we did see a player the Colts had in for a minicamp tryout, Desmond Ridder. James, obviously veteran quarterback. I think people pretty familiar with Ridder. They had him in during mid-June when Anthony Richardson
Whenever I hear
was
his last
hurt.
name, I think of Ritter's ice cream. But
I always think of
or
Ridder.
custard.
I always think of Ridder High School and how the spelling is
That
different. There, shout out to St. Mike. Shout out to Ridder High School. He has joined the Bengals. So the tryout here with the Colts did not lead to a 90-man roster spot. Snoop Huntley, C.J. Beathard, two other quarterbacks the Bengals tried out. So they had a 3-person tryout there. I think Beathard, we've seen back up Trevor Lawrence before. Hell, he might have even started against the Colts. We saw Snoop Huntley last year play for the Dolphins against the Colts. So when you see these names, Ridder trying out for the Colts, Huntley, cup of coffee around various degrees of the NFL. That's Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley as well. C.J. Beathard, kind of same ordeal. Do you see the Colts in this market at all, or do you strictly look at it and say, no, as long as Anthony Richardson's healthy, it's going to be some form or fashion, Daniel Jones starting, Anthony Richardson backing up, or vice versa, and then Riley Leonard or Jason Bean will be your third quarterback?
Yeah, I think the only time we would see that sort of movement from a quarterback standpoint, KB, is if one of the two quarterbacks that you think will be your potential starter gets hurt. Then I would go out and get a veteran. But until then, I don't think that I would add a veteran like right now to sort of be QB3 over Riley Leonard. I think Riley Leonard is a fine QB3. But to your point from earlier in the show, no, I don't think that he can be a backup, which means he would, in theory, be one play away from starting for you. No, I'm not there yet with Riley Leonard. Maybe I will get there, but, I mean, you saw his college career. I saw it as well. And from a passing standpoint, I don't think that he's there at all when it comes to the NBA, not NBA, I'm sorry, the NFL.
Do you write your own headlines?
No, but I know what you're talking about. I can't take credit for that.
Oh, well, what do you think I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the Sidney Colson headline?
No.
Okay, because that was actually hilarious. By the way, for those who might be confused, I had a story just came out from The Athletic, and it was about Sidney Colson and her comedy set.
I have not read that yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it just came out. And the headline on it, just to kind of fill you in, is Knock Knock, Who's There? Veteran Fever Sidney Colson, the funniest WNBA player. I thought that was a fitting headline for a comedy sort of set.
Okay, so you wrote 5 Colts-related questions for training camp, and one of the questions that you wrote, which, again, I don't know if you write – did you write the questions too or just the –
Yeah, the questions are mine, yeah.
Okay, number 3 here. Will QB Anthony Richardson solidify himself as the Colts starter?
Yes. I'm going to explain.
Do you view him as the starting quarterback right now?
No, and I explained that in the piece a little bit further. And
maybe I should read.
Yeah, there's only so much you can put in the little tease or the subhead.
Subscribe while you're at it too, Kevin.
Yeah,
very loyal.
He's using the VPN to log in.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
what browser haven't I used yet? Incognito.
Yeah, but the reason I phrased it like that is because originally when I was going over the questions with my editor Jim Aiello, who used to cover the Colts for Indy Star, I believe.
Legend.
One of the best people in the world. We were talking, and the question at first that we came up with was, will Anthony Richardson start for the Colts? And it's like, well, yeah, I think that he would start at some point this season. But the bigger question is, can you be the guy? And I think that is the overarching question that we have for the entire season is, when 2025 ends, are we saying, okay, Anthony Richardson, give him an extension, he's the future, or are we saying move on, it's over? And that to me is the bigger question, and why I use the word solidify, because if you can't solidify yourself as like the 17-game starter, as the dude, then we might be looking at, okay, well, are the Colts drafting a quarterback next year?
Because he missed 7 of the 9 spring practices.
Which, when you put it like that, man, that's a lot of time missed.
Missed 7 of the 9.
You got Mark Groening over there.
I didn't realize it was that many.
11 on 11 practices. He got hurt during the second, so it's not like he even, had the whole second.
Right.
To be even further technical. Do you feel like he now has to go above and beyond entering training camp? Because I think there was this general assumption at the start of the offseason where as long as if him and Daniel Jones tied in the competition, the thought was Ty would go to Richardson.
Yeah.
I guess, do you still feel that way? If him and Daniel Jones literally look the same over the next month and a half, do you feel like it would still go to Richardson?
Yeah, if they look the same, yes. But I think that if Daniel Jones has a better grasp of the offense, is still more efficient when it comes to completing passes, even if it is just training camp, that to me could be a big determining factor. And ultimately, Kevin, I'm very curious to see how these preseason games go, which normally the preseason games themselves, I mean, they can be kind of hit or miss depending on the practice schedule, joint practices, will you take snaps? But to your point, from really throughout the entire spring, is play both guys, all the preseason games, and get all the reps in, or at least the first couple, to figure out.
They need to play in every single preseason game.
What they look
I will
like.
Beat that drum for the next month.
But the reason I said perhaps not all of them is because if you name a starter, by the third preseason game, do you want him out there? Not necessarily to play like a ton of reps, but are you still asking that question? Is my point. Like, do you want to be able to name a starter before the final preseason game? And in my opinion, you probably should, because it's that late in the year. But
which I agree with. Then play that starter a full half. I mean,
that's what I meant. Not necessarily like, okay, am I splitting reps is what I'm saying. In week 3 or preseason game 3, am I still splitting reps? I think at that point, you should probably have made a decision. That's
16 days away from the preseason opener, Colts at Ravens.
But yeah, and to your point, Anthony, if he's even from here on out, I think the job would still probably go to Daniel Jones. He's got to be a little bit better, in my opinion.
If I'm even, I'm leaving.
You over there rapping or something?
Yeah, I feel like isn't that kind of a wide out corner thing? If we're even, then I'm blowing by you. Or is that like what you say to people? Is that what you say to JMV when he tries to match you up 1-on-1?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to blow by him. Anybody that I felt like I'm discriminatory when it comes to age in basketball, because anybody who's
stereotype.
Yeah, anybody's over the age of 40, I'm like, you're not going to stand in front of me. Like, come on, man. I got to have some sort of pride as a youthful person.
Do you think even after this week, because this is obviously the most practice heavy that they're going to be, do you think you guys will be able to draw conclusions of who's actually winning the quarterback competition by the end of this week, just by able to see what eye test?
I mean, if it's reps that are very clearly given to Daniel Jones, and we're talking like, I don't know, 70-30 when it comes to first team reps, something like that, then yes, I would say he's in the lead.
Yeah, that's where I would counter with Mark. It's like, when, I said it to you guys earlier in the show, when does it become 50-50?
Yeah.
I don't expect it to be 50-50 on Wednesday. Now, if it is, that's great news for Anthony Richardson. The earlier it is a 50-50 split of starting reps, the better. But if we get to the end of the week and it's 80-20?
Yeah.
Just to play out a couple numbers, we start to get into much more condensed training camp after Saturday. Really, it's like 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days. Oh, they're traveling to Baltimore. That's like 2 days off. It gets choppier quicker, which I think makes it harder for Anthony Richardson to leave a strong impression.
And even that preseason opener against the Ravens, like, is whoever the starter is for that game, is that QB1, or is that just, how are they figuring that out?
You only have 2 joint practices, which I think if you added up the joint practices over the past few years, 2 would be on the smaller end. Last year, I want to say they had 4, maybe? At least 3. So that's something that I think is worth pointing out. All right, so let's hit a quick morning check now. All right, All-Star weekend. Sabrina Ionescu, Natasha Cloud on Friday night. Sabrina shot the cover off at 11 in a row from deep. Outstanding performance from her Saturday night. And again, this is probably a bigger professional sports question. This is not a shot at the W, but the All-Star game was terrible in terms of a competitive atmosphere. And actually, the W has provided more competitive All-Star games. So that's why I do sit there and thought to myself, you know what? Am I going to watch something a little bit more back and forth? No, it was not that at all. James Boyd, anything to add from your All-Star weekend?
The skills challenge. You should have to complete each skill to win the challenge. Natasha Cloud being able to win the skills challenge over Erica Wheeler without making a corner three-point shot or making any of the jump shots was ridiculous to me. At that point, just a time challenge.
Preach. Preach, preach, preach. The Milwaukee Brewers are really good at baseball. 10 in a row. They sweep the Dodgers. Scotty Scheffler is also really good at golf. And Pato O'Ward can drive a race car. Anything you guys would like to add on any of those three?
Pato, is that back-to-back?
Technically not. Back-to-back weekends. They had a Sunday doubleheader last weekend. But yes, 2 straight weekends he's been in victory lane. Alex Palou, 12th. No Penske in the top 10. We're used to the ladder. We're not used to that from Alex Palou.
Alex Palou, the fall off has started already.
This season.
What a terrible driver.
Laguna Seca coming up for IndyCar. This weekend, TBT tonight. Butler, they're all good dogs, alumni team. They advanced out of round 1. The Indiana Hoosiers bowed out. A poor second half from them. So Assembly Ball lost there. So Hinkle tonight for semifinals of that regional. Butler plays at 8. And tomorrow night would be the regional championship from up there at that historic field house.
My only other question for you is British Open-wise. Did you have any nice wins yourself? Is the pocketbook a little heavier today?
Yeah, I think I told you I hedged with the big guns, so Scotty would be in that group, so was able to hedge there. But yes, I made a nice chunk of change. Thank you to Matthew Fitzpatrick and the old top. It was actually top 5 bet. I thought it was top 10. He birdied 16 and 17 yesterday. I was like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, oh wait, I really needed that. So yes, I was very happy about Mr. Fitzpatrick.
You hear that, Colts beat writers? Lunch on Kevin Bowen out at Westfield.
No.
What a nice gesture. That is so kind of you.
You know, hit Jeff up and make sure you get some sliders and just bring them on over.
Well, Mark, I think you might get a little cluster truck action in studio, so it might benefit you tomorrow. So you just close your mouth over there, accept that, and James and I will have to fend for ourselves up there in West.
Close my mouth around all that Korean beef that's going to get delivered.
Thank you to Cluster Truck for that. CT FAN, your promo code. C, the letter C.
Are you sure you can have them deliver it today?
FAN promo code for you there. All right, Ben Pickman covers the WNBA for The Athletic. A lot to get to. We'll chat with him coming up next. Mark, my kids know this song from Shrek.
My kids as well. I said, I know this from Mystery Men, the often forgotten Ben Stiller and Pee Wee Herman movie from the early 2000s.
You can hear Max Bowen yelling Shrek right now as soon as this was played. Of course, All-Star Weekend, Mark Dykton's thought process behind that, and James Boyd, a man that was very busy for All-Star Weekend and does a great job covering women's basketball in general for The Athletic. That's our Payless Liquors right now, right? Ben Pickman?
Ben Pickman, yes. And so for those who are looking in the YouTube chat and for those listening who can't see my face, if there are bags under my eyes, it is because Ben Pickman was my chaperone over the weekend. And I don't think either of us went to bed when we're probably supposed to, but it was a fun weekend nonetheless. And Ben, I believe, is now back in New York. So, Ben, thanks for joining the show, my man.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, James. That is definitely correct. But I was happy to show you a good time in your city as well.
Yeah, it's always good to have a friend that can get you into some cool places. I was telling them earlier, Ben, they were asking, hey, who were some of the celebrities you saw out? And I was like, yeah, we were in a party, and Lisa Leslie walked by, and that was pretty incredible stuff. So I can't thank you enough for that experience. And my mom was she thought it was cool, Ben, because of that. So I'll take that as a W. But I do want to pivot, I guess, to more serious matters. Let's start with, I guess not too serious. We'll get into the CBA stuff here shortly, but for the All-Star Weekend itself, how do you think Indy was as a host of this event, as someone who attends these things, every year?
Yeah, I thought Indy did a really great job. I think All-Star Weekend generally across the WNBA has really grown in terms of events, brand activations, partnerships, just feeling like a really important weekend over the last 4 or 5 years. I remember when just a couple of years back, WNBA Live had like 8 to 10 brands in it. It was a single street in Chicago, and now the convention center was filled, and fans were there. It was packed in the afternoon. It was like a women's basketball amusement park of just things that you could do. And then you look at the basketball itself, and I was a little nervous heading into the weekend with Caitlin Clark not participating. Was the weekend going to have a little less juice because of it? But I would say the answer to that is no. Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston kind of assumed the role of de facto host. There was tons of signage. There was tons of just energy around the city. It really did feel like the epicenter of women's basketball. I thought Indy did a really, really great job and set a high standard for whoever hosts it next summer.
So, voice of Ben Pickman, again, covers the W and really women's basketball in general for The Athletic. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Ben, thank you for the time. Let's move over to where we're at from a league negotiation standpoint. We obviously saw the demonstration from a shirt standpoint from players prior to the game on Saturday night. What would be your biggest question when it comes to the bargaining, either side, here as this plays out with October 31st deadline on a new collective bargaining agreement?
Yeah, I guess my question is, I'm just wondering how much progress can really get made when games resume, right? Because we saw that what was so significant about last Thursday's meeting between the players and the league was it was their first in-person meeting that involved players since December, right? The league took, for the players, around 5 months to respond to a proposal and got back to them kind of in late June, early July. Not a lot of progress was made over that time, and so that is what made last Thursday's meeting so significant. More than 40 players attended. Now that games are resuming, talks resume. Both sides have said that there is another meeting scheduled. It's unclear if that is a virtual meeting or an in-person meeting, but there is still a long way to go on this negotiation. Now, we are a long way away from potentially missing games in 2026, but I don't know if as much progress as the players certainly wanted to make this weekend was actually made. Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, said they were constructive talks for whatever that is worth, and she said, responding to a question I asked her, said she still has confidence they can get a deal done by the deadline. But I think the days are quickly ticking off the calendar, and we'll see how much progress actually gets made between now and then.
One more on that, Ben. When it comes to what the players are fighting for, and they had the shirts that said, pay us what you owe us, is that in reference to the revenue split? I know people are all up in arms about, is the WNBA profitable and, how much money should they really be making? But I think, at least in my opinion, from reading your work and others, one of the biggest factors in these negotiations is that, hey, we're only getting, I believe it's around 9 or 10% of the revenue, whereas on the men's side, for the NBA, they're getting that 50-50 split.
Yeah, revenue sharing and salary structure and max salaries are really kind of the 2 or 3 financial components, and they're all interwoven together at play here. It seems like max salaries are going to increase. We'll see eventually by how much. In terms of revenue sharing, you got to think about a big picture that the WNBA is in this explosive period of growth, right? Look at merchandise, look at attendance, look at TV ratings, look at the expansion fees, right? $250 million for these 3 new teams, up from 50 just a few years ago. So business is booming, and the players are saying that they want to grow with the business. And so in the league's counter proposal that they sent back just a couple weeks ago, and this is per players voicing it, they said that the league sent back a kind of fixed and small percentage of revenue sharing over the next couple of years. And what players would then say is that means we're then not growing with the business if it is this fixed percentage, right? And think about it big picture too. The WNBA, unlike the NBA, not only does it not have a 50-50 revenue sharing split right now, but the ownership structure of the leagues are totally different, right? 42% of the WNBA is owned by the NBA. Then another 42% is owned by WNBA owners. Now, there is some double dipping in that group. And then that remaining 16% is owned by people who invested in a capital raise just a few years ago. And some of those people are also part of either NBA or WNBA ownership. So there is a lot of kind of splitting that already has to happen before money trickles down to players, so to speak. So that is part of why this is such a complicated puzzle and financial situation to sort out, is because there are a lot of stakeholders, a lot of players, so to speak, I guess, entities, I should say, who want to profit off the WNBA's business.
It's Ben Pickman from The Athletic, covers the WNBA. Ben, the Fever right now return tomorrow night at the New York Liberty. Caitlin Clark not expected to play with that right groin injury. Look at the standings right now. The Fever are in 6th. And again, we know the top 8 make the playoffs, but they're only 1.5 out from being out of the playoff picture. So I guess I asked that in this way. We got about 2 months left of the regular season. How long do you think they could handle a Caitlin Clark absence before things start getting a little dicey in terms of them securing one of those playoff spots?
I mean, I think they can certainly sustain, even if she does have to miss extended period of time. And you're right, we don't know the severity of her injury. But I do still think the general ceiling of this team is much lower than what people thought heading into the season, right? I mean, even if she were to come back, to me, continuity is so important. In recent memory, these teams that have won the championships and gone on deep runs have shown just that, and that is true, in the WNBA, it's true in a lot of other sports, frankly, right? And the Indiana Fever this year, for all the highs and the high points, right? Think about the Commissioner's Cup victory over Minnesota. They just struggled to be a consistent team. Now, part of that is injury, part of that is figuring out lineups, part of that is, just some nights they bring more energy, competitive fire, as Stephanie White has said, than others. To me, they're currently, 6th in the standings as we resume playing the second half. If you told me that at the start of the playoffs they were still 6th, I wouldn't be shocked. To me, that feels, not knowing all of their games and the total outlook of their schedule, that seems to me pretty realistic. Whether Clark returns and plays most of the second half or all of the second half, or whether she has to miss extended period of time, it still is a talented roster, and things are pretty bunched. But again, Caitlin Clark said preseason that championship expectations on this team. I think Indiana has proven that they're a long way away from the upper echelon of the league as of right.
So last one from me, Ben, and we'll get you out of here. And it's a very hard-hitting question. You are in New York. You covered the Liberty, I think, probably a little bit closer than the other WNBA teams, just given the proximity. And we saw Natasha Cloud, win the money from the Skills Challenge and tell, Izzy Harrison, hey, babe, we're going to go buy that house. But you should have to do the skill to get the Skills Challenge title. So what rule changes do we need in this? I am sick of this on the men's side and the women's side. What can we do? What should be the penalty if you are unable to make a shot or make a pass, yet you still complete the skills, quote unquote, faster than the other person?
I mean, are you a fan of time penalties, James, that instead of just having it be 30 seconds, 35 seconds, 40 seconds to complete it, that you get a 2-second penalty or 3-second penalty or whatever that number is if you are unable to complete an obstacle, or if you miss a shot or throw an errant pass? Is that kind of your suggestion? Because I feel like that is the the logical move potentially there.
That's where I'm at because I'm thinking, hey, we're supposed to promote you as the most skilled players in the world, and if you can't make a jump shot on 3 or 4 tries, then it happens. But you should not be able to win by not making a shot. Erica Wheeler, when I saw her response to some of the loss, and I respected it. I agreed. I'm not in my head.
Yeah, that is a good point for me, honestly. And you can continue to push for skills challenge changes. I want to see the return of the higher shooting stars challenge. Anyone who was an NBA All-Star fan, kind of in the mid 2000s, it's from 2005 through I want to say 10 or 15, whenever. It was this like 3-legged shooting challenge between an NBA player, an NBA legend, and a WNBA player. I would love to see that brought to WNBA All-Star Weekend, where you have a WNBA player, a WNBA legend, and an NBA player compete again. I think that would be a great event and a great add-on to throw back into WNBA All-Star Friday night this time. It was always my favorite when I watched it then, and I think, it would be great. Now, who wouldn't have wanted to see an Indiana Pacers player shoot alongside Chelsea Mitchell and Tamika Catchings? Like, that would have been the moment of the weekend had it happened in Indianapolis just a couple days ago.
Little did he know he was on babysitting duty for James Boyd this weekend.
Great chaperone.
That's what Ben Pickman had to do at night there. I can't imagine having to babysit James Boyd there. Certainly deserves a lot there. I will Venmo you off air, Ben. Thank you for that.
Happy to do it anytime. Next summer, hopefully, we can do it again, too.
All right.
Ben Pickman right there from The Athletic. Thank you, Ben, on the Payless Liquors hotline. All right, we will do it one final time here. Mark Dykton, I think I like your tweet that you just shared with me. Those are good looking. We'll chat about that here upcoming next. It is the Fan Morning Show, one final time. Tomorrow we'll be in Westfield. That would be report day for Colts training camp, Grand Park. I want to say the 7th time they've been up at Grand Park. I think that original contract was a 10-year deal. So up there at a beautiful facility. And Kenny Moore going to join us. And I hope another Colts player, but we know for sure Kenny Moore II will join us live there up in Westfield. Again, the Colts are just one of 6 teams that go off-site. Can you guys name any other of the 6 teams that go off-site for training camp? Some of them a little bit more popular than others.
I want to say
The
Kansas
Cowboys.
City.
The Cowboys, too.
Dallas was the one that I thought as the most popular. Oxnard,
Get your damn act together.
California. James Boyd, you are indeed correct. Kansas City goes to Missouri Western State, so they go across the border. Well, you guys are hot. Do you want to keep going?
How many did you say there were?
6 total. So we know those 2, and obviously the
We
Colts.
got 3.
49ers?
Got 3. No on the 49ers.
I'm going to say
Right state, though, Mark.
Rams.
the
Rams go to
yeah.
Loyola Marymount. Didn't they go to Maui for their minicamp?
Yeah. Do the Raiders?
No, I would think of some blue-collar fan bases here to round it out.
Blue-collar fan bases.
Fan bases that infiltrated Lucas Oil Stadium quite impressively
Steelers?
last year. The Steelers go to Latrobe. That would be St. Vincent College, the home of Arnold Palmer. And
Oh, I know one of them.
our final one?
Is it? I know the Ravens have well, that's their practice facility, which is right next to their stadium.
Not the Ravens. I would say as blue-collar as they come. The fan base that I would love to see bask in a Super Bowl at some point.
The Lions.
They'd be second on that list.
Bills?
The Buffalo Bills.
Oh, okay.
They are our hard knocks team this year, too.
Are they really?
Uh-huh. So that should be an interesting
St.
watch.
John Fisher College. A little bit of a drive over to Rochester. I think that's kind of like a little bit of the Anderson or Rose Holman feel to the Colts used to, of course. Go to those sites. So, again, we'll be out there all week long coming up report day, and then morning practices Wednesday through Friday. Mark Dykton, I love these Reds unis that you just sent. Go ahead and fill our audience in.
So apparently the Braves, the Atlanta Braves and the Cincinnati Reds are going to have a series first weekend in August at the Bristol Motor Speedway. So it seems like they're going to play one game. It's called the Speedway Classic. So they unveiled specific exclusive uniforms and hats. They look pretty nice. The Braves have a hat that features flames on it on the top of the visor. The Reds have checkered flags across the visor. I'd say Mr. Reds fan Kevin and an advocate for the Indy 500, that's a hat you probably need to purchase because that is pretty sweet
That's
looking.
a good-looking hat.
It is.
Great little checkered on the bill. Is that a flame on the Braves hat? Am I
Yep.
seeing that correct?
Uh-huh.
And I love how the numbers are very NASCAR-y numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it other than that. Like when you look at the numbers in the uniforms, you're going to be like, wow, that looks like a NASCAR car.
Mm-hmm. Is
I have a
that Joey
question.
Logano or is that Ellie Dela Cruz?
Literally,
I can't
yeah,
tell.
Yeah, is that Denny Hamlin stealing second?
Where do you put all these hats, Kevin? Do you have like a hat
Maddie did buy me one of those hat
container? I don't know. What do you call it?
not container.
Do you have a container of hats?
It's like
What do you call? Like, where do you put hats when you have a lot of them?
Yeah, it's like a plastic hanging rack, and
See, that doesn't sound any better.
I can't really make it work. I don't know. It doesn't. So I have a desk at home. Actually, my dad's super handy, made it for me back when I went to college. Still works great. And so during COVID, of course, I used it a whole lot. And, you and I both, work from home.
Yeah.
Especially when we have some stuff late afternoon, early evening. So, yeah, they're all just on top of the desk up there. I mean, it's horribly placed. Any sort of, hey, let's keep things tidy person would
Nah.
just hate the look of the top of my desk. Now, Mark, this is at Bristol.
Yes.
Now, Bristol hosted that Virginia Tech-Tennessee football game I remember a couple years ago. I've always thought this about the Motor Speedway. And I don't know, maybe we would have to eliminate the 4 golf holes in there to do it. But we need a college football game at IMS.
I'd like to. Something like that.
If we
got to
take those 4 golf holes, which I know 7 and 8 in particular are very good golf holes. 9's got a million bunkers on them. Somehow I feel like there's other land, on the other side of like 15 and 16 at Brickyard or even 17 or 18. Go put those 4 holes over there.
You can make it work. We can have events
IU
like
Purdue annually noon kickoff. You good for that?
that. Hell
Or
yeah.
Does West Lafayette and Bloomington need those games more?
I can hear their fan bases saying, "Hold on."
On a football
no
game.
lights. I get the no lights, so we're going to have a day game. So
Football game, soccer game, wrestling event. That'd all be cool out there.
thank you to Joel Erickson. Thank you to Ben Pickman. Those will both be up on the podcast again. We'll be live in Westfield each of the next 6 mornings into next week as well. Kenny Moore joins us tomorrow. Everybody have a great, great Monday. We'll chat with you from Hamilton County tomorrow morning.